there's really two things that I can use to train the AI. One is just plain RPG or what IBMI source, because we want to train on more than just RPG in the long term. We need to get the SQL and DDS and all that stuff around it as well. And the other thing is to train it how to answer certain questions. And there's different categories of questions. One is, and the first one we're going for, because um, everyone consistently says this is their biggest need, is to say, given some RPG, provide an explanation. And we're actually making decent progress on this. And I'm going to show an example of how to provide this type of input to say, given an RPG, what's the answer? The next one we're going to be focusing on is, say, I would like RPG to do X. And again, so your input is the question, what do I want it to do, the specifications, and the output is the RPG. And then I'm working with multiple vendors to say, okay, given this RPG, what would be a unit test that would drive this? And I know unit tests, we don't have a lot of them in the industry, but it would be transformative if we did, and if we made it easy to do that. So I've got the Marina Schwenks mid-range. You're going to see is going big on creating examples how to do it with their framework. I'm not saying one framework only. I probably do need someone to go and do this for RPG Unit, which is open source, which has anybody has no stakeholder that's promoting it per se. So I am going to need that. And then there's just questions, the chat type of thing, how, because we all know IBM manuals are so easy to search and find everything in. Let's use AI to solve that problem, and where we can, and I have trained on many manuals. Simon Hutchinson just last night provided a bunch of PDFs. So that's the other thing I can use. If you have any PDF documents that talk about how to do your job in any way, I can train it on that. And so Simon Hutchinson is taking me his famous RPG PGM blog, giving me like 50 PDFs. So I'm training it on that. And then then there's transformations. We'll get to that a bit later because that's more advanced. Okay, and the format, like what I use to train the AI is kind of cryptic and unreadable. It's just a single line that has the input question and the output answer. But we're going to, that's not very easy to read because we're going to have like actual source, and having it all in one line is not very easy to read. So I've kind of created a kind of expanded format where basically that we're going to see in the repo that under data, under task, under your organization, you're going to have each of your separate contributions have some unique ID, and then this is all going to become one line of JSON. But to make it simple, let's split out the RPG file, the input RPG file, say if you're doing an explanation, and the output maybe text, and maybe their input RPG in the input.txt is going to be the question you're asking. Please explain how this code uses indicators or drives a display file or something. And in context, you're going to be this RPG probably refers to. So the naming convention is kind of your RPG file, and then I have a prefix to say this is the input. So I have I1 and then I2 if there's multiple, which I'm not sure when there would be multiple, but there may be multiple context files. So this is what the C's are. C1 is the first one, C2. And don't worry, stress too much, because I'm going to show you an even easier way where you just fill in a form and we generate all this stuff. So these are the DDS that maybe, or DDL that's being referenced by the program, might be needed to understand it. The output would be the explanation, or maybe it might be source. And the metadata, that's just storing how difficult you think this question is. It helps us in our grading. Again, like I said, this
I have a
is
question.
sure. Go ahead, Mary.
On the explain with the question answer thing, do you only want fully compilable code, or can you just take a blurb and do an
You know,
explanation?
a blurb is okay. It might help the AI to know some context, but the way it's going to actually be used is you might select some code, right? And you might say, explain this, and then, so it will have to take blurbs of maybe not having everything there and do its best job. The
Okay.
more information that's there, the more confident the AI can be that it knows what it's talking about, right?
Okay.
But yes, we can take
But I was thinking
blurbs.
like a subroutine that just kind of does some sort of
Exactly.
manipulation, I don't know, something with string manipulation or whatever, where
Exactly.
a whole program doesn't really add more.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So please, in fact, that'll be easier to train the AI if we get something smaller to explain. And it's a very useful case for you to say, I'm looking at the subroutine, I have no idea what it does. And the AI does better when it's got, can focus on something smaller. It doesn't do as well in seeing the big picture. That's when we're going to have to, go out and get some tooling, and IBM is going to have to do some stuff. But so it does better in just those scenarios. So please go ahead and do that. So let's go into a concrete example, because your eyes might be glazing over, but I just wanted to point out that everything is here. We kind of walk through the steps. This is how you would do it if you're editing the files, but manually editing the files. But here I even have screen caps, how to use VS Code to do this, where we've kind of made it a simple filling in a form.